Good morning, one and all. It's turned cold today. Bit chilly. Almost turned the heater on in here. We've got some general silliness. We've got a little bit of Canning Town Len. We've got some West Ham news. And we've got a serious football subject as well. All crammed into about 10 minutes-ish. Something like that. But what have the players been getting up to during their isolation? Jack Wilshere has been trying to get up to match fitness whilst not injuring himself by using his pull. Roberto has been playing games with his children. Carlos Sanchez has decided to leave football and join a basketball team where he can use his formidable hand-eye coordination skills. And Paul Pogba finally managed to lay his hands on Graham Souness. Now, on this channel, well, any channel, everybody gets them. We all get trolls. I've had a few more than normal this week, it has to be said, for having the audacity to suggest that I wouldn't particularly want Newcastle's new owners at West Ham. For reasons which I thought were quite obvious, but it appears not. This seems to have irked the Newcastle fan base, and I seem to have received a little bit more trolling than usual. The worst stuff's had to be cut out, but I did think that some of them were worthy of bringing to your attention. Because I've been told by a Newcastle fan that West Ham are crap, and we've been crap for 30 years. By a Newcastle fan. By somebody that follows Newcastle United and said West Ham have been crap for the last 30 years. Now, I've also been accused of jealousy, quite a lot of jealousy. So much, in fact, that one person accused me of being delicious. Delicious? Thank you. I did my hair especially. So delicious, in fact, that somebody has said that he wants to taste the salt in my mouth. What does that mean? And can you do it whilst observing social distancing rules? I think not. Best of all was a bloke called Paul. Now let me get this absolutely right. Because Paul, I've had to delete the worst of Paul's message. It's not, I can handle it, but there'll be some up here. It's a little bit much, put it that way. But the one I felt was maybe watered down enough to share with you all, said West Ham have special needs supporters. It's right that you should live in a council house. He's obviously referring to me, by the way. If you've watched enough of my videos, you'll know that I live in social housing. So, there you go. There we go. A little bit of trolling there from Paul. Now, I thought I would try and take that in the spirit in which it was intended. Which is a bit of nastiness. I thought it was a nasty thing to say. But I didn't realise, because when anybody leaves a comment, you can actually click on their profile. I didn't realise that Paul was an esteemed YouTuber himself. I didn't realise that Paul Booth had his own channel. I have got to take what Paul says firmly and squarely on the chin. Clearly he's offering me some sort of advice. Clearly he's showing me the way. Because when I looked at Paul's channel, I found that not only was he an esteemed erotic dancer,
I'm going to make these guns,
but he'd also mastered the guitar too. So I bow down to Paul's considerable talents, and I'll certainly take those comments about the special needs and the council house firmly and squarely on the hairy chin, Paul. But thank you very much for continually popping back to the channel, my friend. Right, on to more serious matters. Now, this is something that I did think was, I thought it was really important. I thought it's an article on Claret and Dew, and I thought there was some really important parts to it, because Hughes put up an article which says vital rules which must be obeyed or we kill the season. It's a list of stuff that really should be adhered to if we are going to play out the remaining games that we've missed in the Premier League season. So, I'll go through the points one at a time and just give you my take on them. He said, point number 1, all games must take place in the same time frame they were originally due to do. Players must be given the time to recuperate between games. To do otherwise shows the integrity of the competition to be severely tarnished. I understand what he's saying. It's about being fair, because, you know, if we've got to play Aston Villa with only 2 days gap or something like that, other teams who are fighting relegation may have played Aston Villa earlier on in the season and had a whole week's gap. I get it. It's not fair, but it's never going to be ultimately fair. That one doesn't bother me so much. There are implications, particularly due with fitness, which is if you're going to play 3 games in a week, eventually that's going to take its toll. Let's be fair, it's going to take its toll on the squad. You're possibly going to need a slightly bigger squad, which takes it on to the second point here. Hugh says every Premier League team must have exactly the same first team squad as it did when football stopped. I would agree. I would absolutely agree with that. You can't add players to it. I guess you can't anyway, because there's a transfer thing. But I think what he's saying is you can't change the composition whereby you register different players. You should have 25 registered players, and they should remain the same. I think you're going to have to bring players up from the youth team. Don't get me wrong, but I think more or less the same. I don't think what you can do, if you've had a good player that's on a long-term injury for 6 months, let's say, and he's not registered in your 25-man squad, you can't suddenly say, Zinedine Zidane is fit again, we'll put him back in the team. He said just one player from any team isn't in the squad and it renders the competition altered. For example, William Vertonghen, etc., decide not to play beyond their contracts. It sort of goes. I mean, we are getting into the murky and muddy waters of contracts ending in June, because I don't think this Premier League is going to reconvene before June. Although I think the Premier League seems to be under the impression they're going to get it wrapped up by May. I can't see it. I cannot see it. I really can't. I certainly don't think. I've said this a million times now. I don't think you and I are going to a football match any time in the near future, or even the distant future, quite frankly. Point number 3, all games must be with supporters in attendance. For 3/4 of the season, supporters have been in attendance. Those supporters had the opportunity to have a bearing on the team's performance and possibly the result. I understand he's saying fans being there have an influence on the supporters. How a home game loses home advantage if there aren't any supporters there. So I guess if there was a team that had more home games remaining than away games, they would expect in the run-in throughout the season to have more an advantage because they've played more away games so far. So they're disadvantaged. Hugh says it wrecks the integrity of the competition. It certainly is unfair. But I do think if this is going to happen, if we are going to get the season back up and running, then they're never going to find a solution that everybody finds acceptable, that everybody thinks is fair. I just don't think it's going to happen. He says, we've come to the business end of the season. To change any of the above would render the season totally flawed. You cannot ask players to play 3 games in a week for 3 weeks. Some players can, but some can't. I mean, yes, it's going to play into the teams with the biggest squads. But hasn't football always been like that in that sense? In many respects, I agree with every single one of his points, particularly number 2. But I think number 1, you've just got to let go. You just have to. Right. Time for a bit of Canning Town Len.
Daniel Lett says, if Noble wants to feature... It wasn't to feature as much next season. Who would you like to see have the captain's armband?
Me!
Declan Rice.
Thomas Souček.
My good friend Angelo Bonner.
Well, I think it's just the natural one is obviously Declan Rice. I don't think there's any other choice.
Yeah!
Unless you're going to think of any other choice. I like that. I like it, particularly the friendometer. Which side? I can't even remember. I don't even know which side the friendometer is on. But clearly, I'm one down. And Snodgrass is not. Snodgrass wanted me to say he would be captain. Lovely animations, as always, from Len. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll be back again tomorrow. Going to play some FIFA with Gio later. going to replay the Burnley game. I'll say no more. We played it once. Maybe I'll say no more. No, I will. I'll say no more. I'll leave it. It will be up either tonight or tomorrow. I think the Burnley game. So Burnley v West Ham. I'm Burnley. Gio is West Ham. Obviously, I don't even know why to think about that. I said I'm Burnley. Gio is he's West Ham. I didn't have to think about that one. Should I let Paul play us out with his I've never seen anybody master a musical instrument quite like Paul Booth. Take it away, Paul.
Away from the window. From away from the window.